if you would take this time and invest in vetting these carriers and building these relationships beforehand, because I don't like, in my experience, I ran similar freight all the time. Like it was odd. Like the spot market freight that I ran was when I had a customer with a one-off load that like, hey, we got to move Seattle to Boise, Idaho this week. Do you have anybody? Yeah, I'll take care of it for you. That's where, that's where you run the spot market. But to me, your carrier sales staff needs to do just that. They need to sell your freight. They need to find those carriers, because I don't care what anybody says. There is a carrier who runs the most obscure lane out there, and that's what they've done for 30 years. You need to find them. You need to sell that freight to them. Don't just because the market tells you, oh, it's $1,800 today. That's not true. That's not true. You can find you just have to put forth that effort to find that carrier.
So I think what another miss in we'll call it the carrier sales operations is that, so we talk about relationships, right? Yeah. But you find those carriers and then get them on Schedule A's, right? And when I say Schedule A, I'm not saying we have $1,000 in the lane. We'll use that example, $1,000 in the lane.
Yep.
And on the low side of the market, it pays $750. On the high side, it pays $950, right? You need to find a carrier that has that capacity, that can do it, and it works for them and for you. The price might be $900, but guess what? I'd rather make $100 every time knowing the freight is going to get there and get picked up on time than sit there and spin my wheels trying to find the next best carrier on DAT or ITS $750, because that cost associated with it, people don't think about. So that's a miss too, and I'm sure a lot of the bigger guys do it, bigger guys, girls, whatever. But that's a miss, is that contract carrier situation. It's not easy, right? Because you're trying to contract carriers that, here's the deal. 95% of the market is, I don't know the exact stat, but what, 10 trucks or less.
Yeah.
So finding those with open capacity to service the volume can be hard. So when you try to service volume at that level, contract carriers, they might want to know who your customer is. You don't always want to tell them who the customer is, but at the same time, you have to, because they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot to take freight from a customer they already have. So
yeah, and that, so it's like to kind of touch on that though, like the whole, when carriers ask you who the customer is, it's funny. I was kind of against that right away, but after I started like really diving in and establishing that niche region with that niche freight class and just running with it, I've had carriers tell me, I'm going to work through you. Yes, I'm set up with them as a provider, but I get more money from you than I would directly from them. So they want that to happen. So sometimes that's what it is it's like, in my experience, it was like, they want to know the shipper because they're already set up with them. They're already familiar with them, but they can't get the money because customers pay brokers more than they can to a carrier at times, because it's a volume play. I can handle 15 shipments a day for a customer, and an owner operator or a truck or a company with 5 trucks or less can't take that volume. That's why we can get more money, because we can handle a bigger piece of it. And that's not a knock on any owner operator out there or anything like that, but that's where those strategic alliances come in. And that's why you find that, like you said, that example, I would rather make $100 consistently on a lane 12 months out of the year than play that spot market volatility where, you know what, I might make $750 or, make that extra $150 or whatever, but I recover the load 7 times because everybody's falling off because they want to get 800 or 825, where it's like, you pay that, you find those relationships and you just drive that home.